It is that time of year where you need to add and go out and trade for some of these players that I'm bringing here for you today. These are guys that are going to make the difference on your team as you're trying to get that 2024 ship in your league. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it. All right, getting into my first player, the player that you need to go out and try to acquire for your Dynasty team at the tight end position is Dalton Kincaid. We need to stop looking at the recency bias when it comes down to the tight end expectations. Look, I understand. We saw Sam Laporta come out in his rookie year and finish as the tight end one. But what I am bringing you here is more of an evidence of how that is a massive outlier going into the next couple years at the tight end position. I want to look back in the last 7 years of rookie tight ends and how they perform for fantasy their rookie year compared to their second year, because you'll be surprised of how bad some of these tight ends have performed and maybe how average Dalton Kincaid's rookie season was compared to Sam Laporta's here. So I went all the way back to 2017, the last 7 years, and broke it down, okay? What you're going to be seeing here are graphics of tight ends and what they did in their first year, tight end finish, and what they did in their second year. And I think this is where we need to be, not taking advantage of Dalton Kincaid's, value or opportunity that you can go out and try and get him at this current moment. Let's start off with 2022, the most recent year, 2 years ago here at the tight end position. Trey McBride was the most, I would say, fantasy relevant tight end coming out of that draft class. Year one, tight end 40. Year two, tight end 7. We saw him have a massive breakout. 2021, Kyle Pitts, you saw in his first year, finished as a top 6 tight end 6 that year. He was a generational talent that we've seen, not the Sam Laportas, not the Dalton Kincaids, not even the Brock. He was in the considerations of the Brock Bowers, right? He finished tight end 6, not a tight end 1. Still a top 10 tight end finish. Year 2, tight end 33 with those injuries. That same draft class, Pat Frymuth, who I love, Pat the Dragon, we called him. Year 1, tight end 13. Then he goes to tight end 7. So, decent fantasy finishes for year 1 and year 2 for Pat Frymuth. Going into the 2020 class, not the strongest tight end class. The only guy I think is worth mentioning because I love him is Cole Kmet. Year 1, tight end 41. Year 2, tight end 20. The trend here is that they're improving each year, depending on the team, depending on their situation and potential injuries. That the fact that they're improving is also pretty significant when you are listening to this take. And look, that's not even to mention Cole Kmet, what he's done in the past 2 years after that, after 2020, right? 2019, a big tight end class, TJ Hawkinson in his first year. We know where TJ Hawkinson went in his first year, and he was a top tight end, a first round pick. Tight end 31. His second year, he finished as a tight end 5. These are the type of expectations that we have to be realizing when we're looking at the tight end position. Noah Fant, another top tight end, right? Tight end 16 in year 1, tight end 9 in his second year. Irv Smith, year 1, he was a big prospect coming out of college. Tight end 33, he finished as tight end 22. And the last years that I'm going into, I'll make these 2 quick. Hayden Hurst, obviously you can see tight end 57 to tight end 34. Mike Gesicki, 63 to tight end 11. Dallas Goedert, tight end 20 to tight end 10 in his second year. And then another big class for the tight end position, which is the last year I'm going to be looking into, is 2017, is Evan Ingram, where he finished as a tight end 5 in his rookie year. And then he had tight end 13 with those injuries going into his sophomore year. OJ Howard, tight end 21, and then tight end 14 his second year. And then David Njoku, tight end 24 and tight end 9. Keep in mind, these are all PPR scorings. So if you do play in a PPR league, this is pretty significant. 9 out of 13 tight ends have improved for fantasy in the last 7 years going into their second year. What I'm trying to say is that we have to understand, and what we saw from Sam Laporta, that he was an outlier, and that expectations, we can't have that expectations for honestly any of the tight ends coming out. If you expect Brock Bowers to finish as a top, the tight end 1, tight end 2, that's really high expectations for him. Okay, we need to bring it down here, and I will give him the range from tight end 5 to tight end 12. Now that is a good even doable range for a rookie tight end coming into this type of NFL offense, right? Dalton Kincaid in his rookie year alone, when we go now look into what he did in 2023, he finished as the tight end 11. That is, he outperformed 11 out of 13 tight ends in the last 7 years. And Kincaid value is only going to rise after this year because my expectations of what I'm projecting him to be going into in the 2024 season. I've been saying this all offseason. Dalton Kincaid is going to be the number one target for this offense, right? If you have been with us in our live streams, I kind of put my stamp down and my foot down saying, you know what, the Buffalo Bills, unless they get a top 4, top 5 wide receiver in this draft class, like the Brian Thomas Jr.'s, the Dalton Kincaid, there was rumors that they were going to trade up for Rome Odunze. You know, it was hard for them to get up anyway. I would say it doesn't matter who they got after my top 5. If it's not my top 5, Dalton Kincaid will be the number one target on this offense. They traded back multiple times into the early the second rounds, and they go out and get Keon Coleman, who was nowhere near my top 5 and somebody that genuinely I still don't believe in. Hilarious dude, by the way. I just still don't believe him in fantasy football. But look, the Bills want to have this Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews effect on this offense. And this is what you're going to be seeing going into the 2024 season. Because if you really think about it, I mean, Dalton Kincaid, on a weapons perspective across the board on the Buffalo Bills, outside of Josh Allen, is the highest draft prospect. Keon Coleman, early second round. James Cook, second round. Shakira, third round, from that third, fourth round. Curtis Samuel, he comes from Washington. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, this is a guy that they're investing in going into the 2024 season. And if you can go out and try to acquire him, maybe flip tight ends, honestly, and this may sound crazy, and I know a lot of people probably won't like this, I have Dalton Kincaid ahead of Brock Bowers. I know Brock Bowers is a significant talent. Brock Bowers has a better draft capital than Dalton Kincaid, but I like the situation over the actual player in this scenario. And I love the play of Dalton Kincaid. He was my top 2 tight ends coming into this class. It was Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid, and then Sam Laporta. And then look how that ended up turning out to be. So if you can go out and get Dalton Kincaid right now, I promise you, he will not let you down. All right, going into my second player that you need to be trading for at the wide receiver position, I'm getting more and more in love with this guy as I'm looking into the situations, as I'm diving deep. I went to go watch every single one of his catches and his targets, and I'm loving the situation. That is George Pickens. Let's look at what happened this offseason so far. They traded away Deontay Johnson to the Carolina Panthers. They had the opportunity with a top 20 pick in this draft, which was stacked at the wide receiver position, to go out and get a wide receiver like a Brian Thomas Jr., an Xavier Worthy, a Keon Coleman for some people, a Lam McConkey. What do? They go out and draft an offensive lineman. They draft Roman Wilson in the 3rd round. In my opinion, that speaks volumes and how much they trust in George Pickens and how much they believe he can be that number 1 alpha wide receiver on this offense. Now, I have been saying in our live streams that I can see Roman Wilson surpassing George Pickens. That tune has changed. Okay, I think George Pickens is undoubtedly the number 1 wide receiver on this offense with a very complimentary wide receiver 2 in Roman Wilson. And that's exactly what's going to be happening going into the 2024 season. Let's look back at the quarterback situation we saw last year in 2023 in this quarterback carousel, because it was a terrible quarterback play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny Pickett, terrible quarterback play off the team, now with the Eagles. Mason Rudolph, terrible quarterback play, terrible quarterback. Respectfully, now with the Tennessee Titans. Mitch Trubisky, terrible quarterback play, terrible quarterback, all due respect. Now with the Buffalo Bills. The 3 quarterbacks that was on the quarterback carousel this past year for the Pittsburgh Steelers is no longer on this team. Let's go in 2024. What did they do in 2024 in this offseason? They bring in Russell Wilson, a Super Bowl winner. Justin Fields, a phenomenal fantasy football quarterback. If you have Justin Fields, you absolutely love that. 2 quarterbacks that have produced fantasy-relevant wide receivers in the past. Russell Wilson, most recently, Cortland Sutton, 11.9 fantasy points per game, tied with 4th in touchdowns amongst wide receivers in 2023. Justin Fields, DJ Moore, having his first successful wide receiver in DJ Moore as a top 6 wide receiver finish, averaging 16.9 fantasy points per game. George Pickens could be set to have a fantastic 2024 season now that he's out of this quarterback purgatory. Let's have a look at what he did this past year with that quarterback purgatory room that he had. 63 receptions, over 100 targets, 1,100 yards, 5 touchdowns, averaging 12.3 fantasy points. And that was with 3 different quarterbacks. If you can go out right now, pivot from some of these players that you may be a little bit concerned about, and go out and try and get a George Pickens on a team who has a new quarterback, a new offensive coordinator, who is literally the #1 wide receiver on this offense that is no longer hindered by Deontay Johnson. George Pickens could see that next level of success. I will not be surprised if he finishes within the top 20 of wide receivers. And that is the type of expectation that I'm looking for in George Pickens going into the 2024 season. So go out and try and get him. If you want to unlock our final 2024 rookie report, go to flockfantasy.com/land, the best place to support what we're doing here. Use our promo code LAND, select the Mother Flocker tier, and that's how you can unlock what you see here on your screen. Our 2024 rookie report, where we break down each and every rookie, where we'll be ranking them, how our pre-draft process, our post-draft rankings, and so much more. Pro comparisons and everything is on there on the 2024 final rookie report. Not only do you get that, you get our rankings, our fantasy hit rates, our my guys, so much more. Our personal DM with Zach and myself, Dynasty trade shows, once again, our rankings, and everything else that you can see on your screen currently. All you have to do is sign up using our promo code LAND, get 30% off at sign up. It could be part of the family here. All right, going to the quarterback position. Man, this is a guy that was set for a huge 2023 year and tore his Achilles. That is Aaron Rodgers. Honestly, it was kind of a blessing in disguise if you think about it, what happened to him with this team, specifically at the offensive line standpoint, because we saw a tremendous amount of injuries. Maybe we would have seen Aaron Rodgers miss some time off the field because of how bad the offensive line play was for the New York Jets. And maybe him missing that first half of the season and just being 100% right really comes into the 2024 season with vengeance, with a new light, with new hope, with a longer stretch to play in his career. Because, look, let me tell you, the New York Jets had 13 different linemen play in 2023. According to PFF, the Jets were ranked 31st out of 32 NFL teams in the offensive line rankings. I mean, that is terrible when it comes down to the offensive line play. And what has Aaron Rodgers, I would say, predominantly had a middle-of-the-pack offensive line throughout his career? Absolutely, with the Green Bay Packers. And now this offensive line is going to be revamped. A lot of the players that were injured are coming back. And what did they do in the first round with their top 10 pick? They'll go out and draft Olu Fashanu, who didn't give up a sack in his whole college career out of Penn State, one of the best offensive linemen in the 2024 NFL draft, setting the foundation for this line to get back with Elijah Vera Tucker, and getting healthy is going to be huge for Aaron Rodgers and going to protect him to give him more time to spread the ball around. Drafting Malachi Corley in the 3rd round, who gives him massive yards after the catch potential. A lot of people are comparing this to the Randall Cobb, to what Aaron Rodgers used to be back in the day. This is very, very exciting. And one other thing that we have to remember, yes, this guy may be an older quarterback, but he still produces fantasy relevance every single year. The history of Aaron Rodgers' success is phenomenal. Only 4 out of the 15 years, Aaron Rodgers finished outside the top 10 in fantasy points per game, according to PFF. I mean, let's have a look, okay? And in 2021, 21.8 fantasy points per game, top 10. 2020, 24.3 fantasy points per game, top 5. 2019, all right, 17.3, 14%. 2018, 19.3, top 10. 2017, 19.4. 2016, 23.9. He was QB1. The list goes on, as you can see. Aaron Rodgers knows how to produce fantasy relevant points for your team as a quarterback, not only as a quarterback, but knows how to spread the ball around. If you're in a win now team, if you're in a position where you need a third quarterback for your maybe hybrid team and saying, you know what, maybe I'm going to go out and compete. Maybe I just need a third quarterback just to get me to the lines here, take me to that next level to see if I can compete. Why not go out and acquire Aaron Rodgers, where a lot of people are trying to pivot to some of these young quarterbacks coming out of the 2024 class? Now, there's no way you can trade a top pick for him, not even a second round pick. I would say people aren't trading for Aaron Rodgers, but if you can send a couple thirds, maybe a future second to get Aaron Rodgers, that I personally believe could easily finish as a top 10 quarterback going into the 2024 season, and you're competing, I would do that every single time. All right, and last but not least, I bought you tight end, I bought you quarterback, I bought you wide receiver, and of course, I have to bring you a running back in this video. David Montgomery is somebody you should go out and trade for right now. His value is phenomenal in the community. According to Keep Trade Cut, RB19. According to the Flock Fantasy website, he is RB18. Now let's talk it out. Look, Jahmyr Gibbs will be the lead back in this offense. Jahmyr Gibbs is the guy. He is the pass-catching running back going into the 2024 season and for the foreseeable future. He is the young gun. He is the guy that's going to be taking his talents to the next level in space. But David Montgomery will have a role going into 2024. Why? Because we saw that this past year. And Dan Campbell has said we want to build a 1-2 punch backfield, a running back by committee where we can lean on both of these running backs, and David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. And that's exactly why David Montgomery, who has finished as a top 20 running back this past year, I believe can easily finish as a top 15, top 12 running back going into the 2024 season. Both of these guys can easily finish as top 10 running backs for your fantasy team. Let's start off with Jahmyr Gibbs and what he did this past year. 182 attempts, just under 1,000 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns. Obviously, he got majority of his work in the air, 16.1 fantasy points per game. He finishes RB10. David Montgomery, who missed 3 games as well, 219 attempts, over 1,000 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, 13 touchdowns, averaging 14.8 fantasy points per game. Once again, finished RB17 and missed 3 games. Whether it's a 50-50 workload, a 60-40, a 55-45, both of these guys are going to have a workload, specifically David Montgomery in this offense. And at the moment in the community right now, people, once again, however way you want to look at this, according to the community, people will rather draft someone like a close to Zamir White, RB20, Javonte Williams, RB21, Ramondre Stevenson, RB22. If I have Ramondre Stevenson and somebody wants to pivot off of David Montgomery, I'm sending Ramondre Stevenson for David Montgomery. I'm sending Zamir White for David Montgomery. I'm sending, insert these running backs that have questionable workloads or questionable outlook going into the 2024 season, that you can go out and acquire David Montgomery currently right now. I'm willing to do that because I'm confident in the workload that he is going to be acquiring going into the 2024 season. Once again, Dalton Kincaid, Aaron Rodgers, George Pickens, and now David Montgomery, guys that you should be going out and trying to trade for your dynasty teams. Guys, comment down below your best trade for target this offseason, and as always, it's all love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.